Whether it's a product for home or business, farm or factory, you can be sure if it's Westinghouse.
Jerry, can you get that?
Can't you get it?
Never mind, I'll take it. Hello. Who? Steve? I thought you were still in Italy. When did you get in? Oh, of course we want to see you. Grab a cab and get right up here. There's an old friend of yours coming for dinner. Never mind who. You just get up here.
Who's that?
Steve. Jerry, go in the kitchen and put the oven at 200, would you? Yeah. That was Jerry. What? Oh, the great psychiatrist is fine, thank you, but he's still a menace around the house. He can't even make a decent martini yet. Certainly I'm a slave. Listen, hang up, darling, and let me get back to my kitchen. Bye-bye.
Babs, how does this thing work? I never can figure it out.
Here.
Oh.
Simple as that.
What's that brother of yours doing? I thought he was abroad somewhere.
Well, he just got in this afternoon. The Air Corps certainly keeps him busy.
Oh.
Well, don't just stand there. Get the ice out of the icebox while I make the martini.
Why don't I make the cocktail?
No, darling. You have a wonderful mind, but it doesn't carry over into the home. You look very handsome, however.
Don't be feminine. What time are the Webbers due?
Now, Steve's coming, too.
Oh, that's going to be great. Did you have to add the shadow of a heavy wartime romance to this evening?
Oh, whatever went on between Steve and Kay was ardent but brief. I don't think there'll be a situation.
You know, I got a line on the Webbers myself today.
Oh, from home. Darling, bring the tray, would you?
Mm-hmm. Captain Eric George, Welshman. Been in India for the past 15 years.
Had he met Bert and Kay?
No, not directly. You ever know they'd been court-martialed?
No, and I don't believe it.
Mm-hmm. They were convicted, too.
Oh,
Excuse me while
Jerry.
I get this.
Honestly, for a psychiatrist, you're the most gullible creature I ever knew.
Very well. You want me to ask them?
Go right ahead. I never heard of anything so silly. Oh, there they are. Darling, let them in while I dump this egg in the kitchen, will you?
Yeah.
Hello, hello. You're Jerry, of course.
That's right.
Well, at last. It is good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Bert, this is Bab's husband, Dr. Jerry Evans, Bert Weber.
How do you do? Come in, won't you? Babs will be down in just a moment. She's out in the kitchen.
Darling! And this is Bert. Oh, I've heard so much about you, I feel as though I know you.
I've been hearing a lot about you, too. Kay's been dripping with homesickness all the way across the Pacific.
True. I'm afraid it is. I've been so excited all day, I've acted like a perfect idiot. Oh, New York has never looked so good. It's over 7 years. Do you realize that?
I certainly do. It was cruel of you to keep her away so long.
Bert, cruel. Does it show?
Well, shall we sit down? Let's have a drink to your homecoming.
I'd love a cocktail.
Good.
Sit down.
Our staying away was a matter of bread and butter. Everything I heard about England sounded rather grim. I preferred to try my chances in the East.
Well, I can't blame you for that.
I want to hear all about everything. We have heard so many
Right.
crazy stories about you two that I don't know what is true and what isn't. First, you are English.
South African, half German. That's where the Weber comes from.
Oh, I see. And you were with Westlake, one of the marauders?
Yes.
And you did get a VC?
Yes.
It's all true, then.
Were you ever court-martialed?
Oh, yes, we were court-martialed.
And convicted.
You see?
But good heavens, Kay, what for?
We eloped. The Army didn't approve.
We forgot to ask permission.
Well, it was all rather headlong. You see, Bert was brought into the hospital on Friday with 5 bullets in his leg. He was in terrible shape. 6 days later, he wanted me to run away and marry him.
But no one would perform the ceremony for us. They thought I was delirious. So we took a jeep and crossed the border into Nepal.
After knocking 2 guards over the head. Bert liked that part of it best.
So, you got over into Nepal. What then?
We stayed a month. Then when my leg was better, we went back, walked into the hospital, and were clapped in irons.
Honestly, well, no wonder we kept hearing stories about you two.
And after you were released, you stayed on in India?
We moved to Ceylon.
Oh, did you just love it?
Bert did. He belongs in the Orient.
What about you?
Kay never liked the island or the people. Even their singing got on her nerves. There was one tune in particular. Every time she
Bert,
heard it,
please
she...
don't.
You see? Just a little phrase.
Oh!
So
Oh, never
sorry.
mind, darling.
Please
It's all right.
forgive me.
There's a cloth right beside the sink. Jerry, did you get any on you?
No, but I'm afraid I got
Oh,
some on
never mind.
you.
It'll come right out. You need a fresh drink, I expect.
I guess we could all use a fresh round.
Oh, that'll be Steve. I'll get it.
Steve.
Yes, he called a few minutes ago. He just got in this afternoon. Oh, darling.
Babs, how are you today? You look wonderful. Say, what's the big mystery? Who's here?
Go on in. You'll see.
Okay.
Hello, Steve.
Hello, Kay.
Steve, I want you to meet my husband. This is Bab's brother, Steve Carr.
How do you do?
How are you?
Let me get you a drink, Steve.
Oh, thanks, Jerry.
Well, why don't we all go out on the terrace? It's still warm enough, I think, and you haven't seen our view yet.
No, I've never seen the famous skyline at sunset.
You're in for the
There you
treat,
are.
I believe.
Oh, thanks, Jerry.
No, thank you.
Coming?
In a moment. Well, Babs should have warned me.
And me.
Why? You've done quite well for yourself.
Haven't you?
No?
We should go out on the terrace.
Your husband?
Partly.
A very romantic match, I understand.
Very.
I don't want to keep you from the view.
Steve, could you think up some excuse to leave?
I could, but I'm not going to.
Steve, please.
You go ahead. I'm going to have another drink.
Oh, Babs! What a spectacular view.
Where, Steve?
He's grabbing himself another cocktail. I don't know, but I think he intends to go in for some very serious drinking.
Oh, don't stop. I love it.
Don't get me started. I can go on with these South African things for hours. I don't think anyone who's lived there ever quite gets the drums out of their head. They go on beating whether you like it or not.
You like it?
Well, it isn't easy to answer. I do and I don't. It depends what associations come into your head. Now, here's a beat. I first heard that when I was just a kid. A Dutch planter was beating a native for stealing his cattle. Hear that? That isn't just the drums. That's the lash falling. I always hear the beat like this.
What happened to the native?
He died, I expect. Here's another. This is when they put a girl up for sale. She just stands there, you know, doesn't make a sound. I used to listen and listen. Then some German or Dutch planter comes along. And then she starts to make a kind of cry. I was always listening to her. I could never make out whether it meant yes or no. It always went like this. And out of that, you get a song like this.
Would you like some coffee?
Thanks, Bash.
Can I help?
Oh, no, thanks, darling. There's nothing to do, really.
Please let me help.
Okay, darling, what is it?
I can't stand that sound.
Well, let me ask Bert to stop then. I'm sure he won't
No,
mind.
don't say anything.
Well, why not? I'm sure he'd stop if I asked him to.
Oh, yes, he'd stop. But we have a piano, too, you know. He'd wait till I was nearly asleep, and then it would begin.
Hey,
Hour after hour.
have you ever asked him to stop?
Once. It was better, I found, to let him go on playing.
What are you trying to say, Kay?
I don't know, really.
Aren't you in love with him anymore?
No.
Are you afraid of him?
Yes.
Why?
He's still in love with me. Oh, that sounds ridiculous, I know, but it's true. And the more I refuse him, the more he wants me. I tried seeing somebody else a few years ago. It was perfectly innocent. Just someone to see now and then to just talk to. Bert knew all about it from the start. He kept asking the man to the house. They had drinks together, played polo together. Finally, he and Bert invested in a small trading company. I don't know what happened or how, but suddenly a large sum of money was missing. The man was arrested. At the trial, the evidence was twisted to look as though it had all been spent on me. Bert stuck by me. Everyone thought he was wonderfully noble. But I knew, and he knew, that the man was innocent. It taught me a lesson. I can't even have any friends anymore. It's too dangerous for them.
Are you telling me this is a warning to Steve?
Partly.
I see. How much is your fault?
I don't know. It was real enough at the start. It was violent and mutual. Too violent. I tried to pretend for a while, but he knew. It is rather an ignominious position for a man like Bert, who's always had everything he wanted. He wants to hurt me. He can't help it.
Aren't you being pretty high-strung about this?
I don't think so. You obviously do.
Why not talk to Jerry? He's very good about these things.
You think I need professional advice, then?
Don't you?
Let's take them their coffee. Their tongues are probably hanging out.
You're angry, aren't you?
I'd forgotten that you were Steve's sister.
Excuse me, Dr. Evans. There's a Mr. Weber outside. He hasn't an appointment.
Bert Weber,
Yes, sir.
ask him to come in.
Mr. Weber,
Thank you.
the doctor will see you now.
It's good of you to see me, Evans. I should have called, I know.
Well, we're in luck. I just had an appointment, Kenzie.
I've been wanting to see you for some time, Doctor, but, well, I guess I was a little embarrassed. I've never been to a psychiatrist before.
Well, it's become rather fashionable. There are places in this town you don't dare approach without a little, trauma in your hand.
It's not for myself I've come, it's for Kay.
No?
You've been seeing a lot of Kay these last few weeks, haven't you?
Well, Babs has.
She's been meeting your wife's brother almost every day.
Steve? Are you sure?
Yes, I'm quite sure. Oh, I'm not jealous or angry. I'm worried, Doctor. She's sick. She's been sick for a very long time.
In what way?
She thinks I'm trying to hurt her. She has some crazy notion that I'm jealous, and it's all an illusion. I hate to confess this, Doctor, but I haven't been in love with my wife for a long time. It was too ardent at the start, I imagined. I'm still very fond of her, but she could never accept the fact that I no longer cared for her physically. She began to accuse me of things I've never done.
Yes, that often happens.
But recently it's got very much worse. On the surface you wouldn't notice it, but I live with her. I know. Now she's come here to find Steve, who was once in love with her, I gather. It's dangerous, Doctor. She's out to hurt him and me. And in the end, she'll only hurt herself.
I see. You want me to talk to her, is that it?
Oh, no, that's no good. She'd never come to a man like you professionally.
Well, I don't know. I don't really see what I can do if I can't even talk to her.
You can talk to her, Doctor, but not here. I've taken this place up near Bennington. The hunting season starts next week. If you and your wife could come, I'd call Steve and get him to join us. We'd be there 4 or 5 days. You'd have a chance to see Kay. She is in her own home. Watch her.
You're sure about Steve, are you? That comes as rather a surprise to me.
It shouldn't. They've been meeting at your apartment. They'll be meeting there this afternoon, as a matter of fact.
What?
Yes, I believe the date was for 4 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken.
Kay asked me to meet her here at 4. Why?
Have you seen her at all since that first night?
Once we had lunch together. I told her then it was all over.
Did you mean it?
No.
She probably knew you didn't.
Well, that's possible. But why should she try to see me? Does she think it's amusing to go on like...
but she may not be trying to think. She's in a very bad state, I'm afraid.
How bad?
I don't know, but be gentle with her, Steve. She may need you very much right now. Oh, there she is. I don't want her to see me. I'll slip out the back way. Make some excuse.
Hello, Steve. Is Babs here?
No, she had an appointment. Go on in.
I hope she wasn't angry at my asking to meet you here. I thought Bert would be less likely to suspect anything if I came to see Babs.
What is there for him to suspect?
He knows, Steve. He knew at once the moment you walked in that night. He knew it was why I'd been no sort of wife to him after the first few days.
Why did you marry him?
I needed someone. I was too young to realize how quickly that passes. I thought it would last forever.
Why? It didn't with us.
Yes, it did. That's the difference. And that's the trouble.
What do you expect from me then?
Nothing. I only wanted to see you once more to say goodbye, that's all, really. I've got nothing to offer you anymore, Steve. I'm sick, tired, of no use to anyone. Find somebody else, Steve. Find her quickly.
You could be in love with me then.
I've never been in love with anyone else. No. This is what I promised myself wouldn't happen.
But it did.
And it will. Every time that we meet. That's why we mustn't meet again, ever.
Well, your husband called me this afternoon and asked me to spend the weekend with you next week.
Bert called you?
Yes.
Did you accept?
No, but I didn't refuse either. I wanted to wait and hear how you felt about it.
You must refuse, Steve. He wants to hurt you, and me too. It's happened before, Steve. Call him and tell him you can't come.
Aren't you being a little hysterical?
He's wanted to hurt me for years. The more cruelly he can do it, the better.
You're not well, Kay. You're letting this thing get you.
Don't, Steve. You sound just like Bert.
Kay. Kay.
Yes. This is one last time.
Hasn't Mrs. Weber got back yet, Dora?
No, sir. The train's late, I guess. It often is when it rains like this.
I thought American trains were never late.
Yes, sir.
Hello. I'm late, I know. I'm sorry.
Doesn't matter. How is the city?
I only stayed over one day, you know.
Yes, I'm aware of that. Was it worth it?
It was for me.
I should have thought you might have been here the first day we arrived.
I'm sorry. I'll try to make it up to you.
This is a very big house for just the two of us.
I know.
We'll need a lot of guests to keep it alive. I've asked some people up for next weekend.
Oh, who?
All very dear friends of yours, Dr. Evans and his wife, Mr. Stephen Carr.
Did they accept?
The Evans did. Mr. Carr refused.
I see.
I got the notion he might change his mind if you were to ask him.
He might, but I'd rather he didn't. Dora, I'd like to have a cup of tea, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd prefer it if he didn't come here, Bert. Bert, would you mind not playing for a moment?
It's a favor to you?
Yes, there's a favor to me.
Very well. What is it, my dear?
I know this is probably a very bad time to speak of this.
Probably. I've seldom seen you looking more desirable. I'm scarcely in the mood to discuss a cold matter of business. It was business, I gather.
I want you to give me a divorce, Bert.
Really?
Will you?
No.
What possible good am I to you? What good have I been for the last 5 years?
None. But you weren't seeing Mr. Carr then,
What makes you think I've seen Steve?
haven't you?
Twice.
Secretly and behind my back.
Will you give me a divorce?
No.
Why not?
Merely because you want it. I've wanted a great deal from you for a very long time.
You don't want me. You don't need me. You only want to see me suffer. You're not even human any longer. You're nothing but a beast. A cruel, sadistic
Don't
beast.
say that, Kay. Don't say that. I've been too lonely for too long. I'm not going to be lonely very much longer, even if I have to.
Yes, you can always do that, Bert. It won't be the first time.
You blame me?
No. I pity you.
Give me Western Union. Western Union, I want to send a telegram to Mr. Stephen Carr, Hotel Connaught, 45th Street, New York City. Message. Steve, darling, please come. I think I may need you very much. Signed, Hay. Yes, that's all. Read it back to me, will you?
Now that you've seen part one of The Target, let's turn to our Westinghouse program and Betty Finesse. Award of Merit.
Hello. You know, in Hollywood, we have our Oscars, the Academy Award for Outstanding Performance. Well, just the other day, I learned about a different kind of Oscar, an award made in the home appliance field by the American Society of Industrial Engineers. Now, this group of men is truly representative of the men who design and plan the products that you use every day in your life. I'm happy to say that the president of the American Society of Industrial Engineers, Mr. Robert L. Crinian, is here tonight to present to Westinghouse the Oscar of this society, the famous Merit Award. Also here is Mr. John Ashbaugh, Vice President in charge of the Westinghouse Appliance Division, to accept the award. Mr. Crinian and Mr. Ashbaugh.
Mr. Ashbaugh, as the National President of the American Society of Industrial Engineers, I've been asked to present our highest honor, the Merit Award, for the Westinghouse laundromat and clothes dryer. After an exhaustive examination of the entire laundry equipment field, our Committee on Awards has found that the Westinghouse laundromat and the clothes dryer is truly the very finest in the laundry equipment field. And for this, in recognition of this, we present our highest honor, the Merit Award. Let me quote to you from it. Granted by the National Board of Governors for leadership in research, engineering, design, and manufacture in the home laundry field.
Mr. Crinian, we are proud of the honor that your society has conferred upon the Westinghouse laundromat and clothes dryer. At Westinghouse, we have always built our products to the highest degree of engineering ideals. And on behalf of those who are responsible for this high honor, those folks who engineer and build our products, I very gratefully accept this award.
And now, here are the two products which have earned this highly coveted Merit Award. The Westinghouse Laundromat and the Westinghouse Clothes Dryer. This award is another proof of those well-known words, you can be sure if it's Westinghouse.
And now let's return to Westinghouse Studio 1 and the target.
Oh, Fred, have you seen Mr. Weber?
He was here up to a while ago, ma'am. Heard him say he was going down to pick up the hunting licenses for the guests.
Oh, I see. You do know that Captain George and his daughter are coming along with the Evanses?
Yes, ma'am.
I think we could have lunch out here on the terrace.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Fred. Dora! Dora, if those are the guests, will you bring them in here, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Mrs. Evans. This is the Weber place, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. Come right in.
This is it. Come along, Gwyneth. Thank you very much. Yay, darling. We took every wrong turn possible. Gwyneth, George, this is Kay Weber.
Hello, I'm so glad you could come.
It's wonderful of you to have me.
And
Hello,
this is
Jerry.
Captain Eric, George.
Oh, I'm Kay Weber.
How do you do?
It's very good to see you, Captain George.
Thank you.
Won't you come in and sit down? Bert's down in the village seeing about the licenses. He should be here any time now.
Okay, I can't get over your place. Why, it looks as if you lived here forever.
I'm glad you like it. We're very pleased with it ourselves.
Are you here on a visit, or is it a business trip?
Business. Bert thought he could do better selling rubber in the States.
Oh, you plan to stay here for some time, then?
If all goes well.
Has it so far?
From Bert's standpoint, very. Why do I feel that we've met? Do you know?
We've never met, Mrs. Weber.
Are you sure? From the moment that Jerry spoke your name, I had that curious feeling that we'd, well, not met perhaps, but something.
Something? Well, perhaps, Mrs. Weber.
Yes, I know that. I say, do forgive me. I had no idea I'd be so late, but that bloody game warden was out and I had to wait for nearly an hour.
Oh,
Hello, Jerry. Hello, Babs. And you're Captain George, aren't
Yes,
you?
how do you do? This is my daughter, Gwyneth.
Well, how nice. A touch of radiant youth is always welcome.
That's terribly nice of you.
Well, I'm very glad to have you all here. Has anyone offered you a drink? No. I think we ought to do something by way of housewarming. Sorry your brother couldn't get here, Babs. He'd have completed the circle.
He was all tied up, Bert, all very pressing.
No, I think I handled it all wrong. If I'd left it to Kay, I think he'd have found some way out of all that pressure. Persuasion is a woman's art. No man should try to practice it.
Well, I think I should show you to your rooms. You probably want to wash up before lunch?
I would, I know.
Is there time for me to change? I'd love to get into something cool.
Of course there is.
I'll have the drinks ready long before you get down.
Thank you.
I see, Doctor. Just a minute. Yes? You may think this sounds rather silly, but did you get a chance to warn your friends about Kay?
Why should I?
She's closer to the breaking point than you know. Any chance remark, however innocent, might just set her off. I'd hate that to happen. She'd feel so humiliated afterwards.
If you think it best, I'll speak to them.
I do, Doctor. I wish to heaven I didn't.
I'll see you in a few moments.
Yes, I'll get on with the cocktails.
What you want?
There's a gentleman here says he's invited.
I haven't heard anyone else coming. What's his name?
Carr, Mr. Stephen Carr.
Well, I'll go
Hello. No one home?
Oh, they're all down at the boathouse. Be coming back pretty soon to dress for dinner. Who was it you wanted to see?
No one in particular. I'm expected, I think. What do you got there?
Just a stack of targets. Mr. Weber thought some of the folks might want to practice up a bit after dinner. First day of shooting, some folks gets pretty nervous.
First day opens tomorrow, doesn't it?
That's right.
I'm simply exhausted.
Oh, here's some of the
as a
folks.
matter of fact. Steve, what are you doing here? I thought you weren't coming.
I found out at the last moment I could make it.
Oh.
You know, if my sister had slightly better manners, she'd introduce us. I'm Stephen Carr.
Hello, I'm Gwyneth George.
Where are the others?
They were right behind us, all except Mrs. Weber. I don't know where she went. Do you, Babs?
Oh, she wasn't feeling very well, and she went upstairs right after lunch. Oh, here are the others now. Surprise, surprise, a new arrival.
Well, Mr. Carr, so you did manage to get here after all. I am glad to see you.
Thank you.
I think you know everyone except Captain George.
Jerry?
Steve.
How do you do, sir?
How do you do?
Say, I'm afraid I owe you an apology. I didn't bring any hunting equipment.
All you need is a red cap. Steve's just been telling us a story about a man who shot his own brother up in Canada someplace, wasn't it?
Yes, I think so. It's in a paper I was reading just after lunch. Oh, here it is.
Oh, you're all back. I'm so sorry I didn't hear you come in.
Hello, Kay.
It was a surprise to us, too, my dear.
I thought you weren't coming.
Well, I changed my mind. You're not sorry, are you?
No, not at all.
British Columbia.
What's British Columbia got to do with anything, Dr. Evans?
Bert, you're asking if it were Canada. It was.
Oh, don't be ghoulish, Jerry. Jerry found some charming little squib in the paper about a man who mistook his brother for a bull moose and shot him right through the antlers.
Not at all. It was his son, and he thought he was an elf.
Oh, I believe I did see that thing. Damn good shot, too. Over 200 yards, wasn't it?
Oh, Bert, really? You sound as though you think he ought to get a blue ribbon or something. Man shoots son between eyes at 200 yards. Hip, hip, hurrah!
Stop it, stop it. I'm sorry. I just happen to dislike everything to do with hunting. Silly of me.
Well, it's time this girl started to get dressed.
So must I.
Cocktails on the terrace at 7:30, all right?
Fine.
Any of you chaps like a whiskey before you go up?
I could use a drink. What about you, Eric?
Yes, I think I'll join you.
Car?
Oh, no, thanks.
I'll be right back.
Let him go.
Well, you didn't seem very glad to see me.
I wasn't. You've got to leave, Steve. You've got to think up some excuse to go.
Don't tell me you've changed your mind again.
Please don't laugh at me, Steve. I don't think I could stand it.
I'm sorry, but I can't take this very seriously, Kay.
You must. You don't understand the working of Bert's mind. He hates you, Steve. He hates you more than anyone else in the world except me.
That's a little melodramatic, isn't it?
No, it isn't.
All right. I'll remain respectably aloof, I assure you. I'll give him no reason to resent my being here.
It isn't a question of reason with Bert any longer. It's past that. It has been for a long time.
Poor Kay.
Oh, poor Kay, Steve, you fool. You fool, don't you see that? All right. I'll show you to your room. Just showing Steve to his room.
See you fellas at dinner.
All right.
Well?
That girl has good reason to be afraid, Jerry.
Hmm?
She's been through more than you know. And I'm afraid that my being here makes it much harder for her.
Your being here?
Well, you remember when I came in, she said she thought she'd met me before.
Mm-hmm.
She hadn't. But I was indirectly connected with somebody who suffered a great deal because of Bert Weber. Somebody who ended by blowing out his brains.
I see.
Don't you be fooled, Jerry. Her fright is not imaginary. You know, it's hard to believe in the face of Weber's war record, but there were stories of his treatment of some of the soldiers under him even during the war. There were stories, and too many to be ignored, of a houseboy beaten to death and some poor little serving girl brutally lashed. Of course, nothing was ever proved that I know of. Nothing ever came into court. But things like that become known. Jerry, if you care about Kay, find some way of getting her out of this. The sooner the better. It isn't healthy for her to be with him right now. And as the days go on, things are going to get worse.
These persecutions are not altogether in her mind, then, you think?
Don't look in her eyes, Jerry. Look in his. Well, I must get ready for dinner.
Yes, we both must.
Looking very desirable tonight, my dear.
It's all in your mind. Any other shoulders would do as well.
And there's no response. There was once, you know.
We've been over this before, Bert.
I've never hurt you but once. There's never been a mark on your body from my hands, not even a bruise.
Only once.
Faultless. Others beside myself will notice that, I feel sure. Funny about that item Jerry was reading. Bad to publish things like that. Might put ideas into a lot of people's heads. It's too easy. A couple of men go out hunting. One comes back and says he shot the other. Thought he was some sort of wild animal. Who's to prove it wasn't an accident? Can't get a thing like that out of one's head. What simpler way could you think of for a man to get rid of his wife's lover? What simpler way for me to get rid of Mr. Stephen Carr? I wonder if you've been listening to anything I've been saying. It'd be worth your while, I think, because that's exactly what I plan to do. I hadn't thought of anything so simple until Jerry put the idea into my head. Steve and I can start out early in the morning. There'll come a moment when, quite naturally, we decide to separate. All of a sudden, I'll swing around thinking I've seen something across the clearing. One shot, and it's over. I seldom need more than one shot.
You really mean to do this, don't you, Bert?
Can you think of a better way?
You're so sure of yourself that you tell me and think I'll say nothing.
Oh, no, I'm quite sure you'll try to tell him. You won't waste a moment.
You'll try to stop me?
Why should I? I'll even bring the subject up. It'll make it easier for you.
Why?
Well, try it, my dear, but I think you'll find it rather more difficult than you imagine to make him believe you. After all, anyone can see you're in a highly nervous condition. I'm sure nobody here would be at all surprised to find you talking in a slightly irrational way. I'm quite sure Dr. Evans has already taken the precaution to warn Steve by now.
You've planned this whole thing, haven't you? You've been planning it for weeks.
Certainly. I can't make you responsive, it seems, but I can see that no one else enjoys the pleasure. And in case you'd like to speak to Mr. Carr, I'll go and see if I can find him and send him to you. Well, I'm in luck this evening. Where's Mr. Carr now? I say, Carr, just a minute. Kay has something she feels she must tell you.
Well, that sounds urgent. What is it?
She thinks I'm planning to put a bullet through your head. I'm supposed to be jealous of some romantic attachment you enjoyed many years ago. But let Kay tell you herself in her own way. I'll take the opportunity to go and put a few drops of poison in your drink.
What was that all about?
Come in, Steve. Close the door.
Isn't that rather conspicuous?
Close the door, please.
What is it, Kay?
He means it, Steve. He's just told me his whole plan. He's going to take you out with him tomorrow. He's going to make it look like an accident. A duplicate of that accident where the father shot his own son. Bert's a deadly shot, Steve.
That doesn't make very good sense, Kay. If Bert were really planning to do this thing, it seems rather unlikely that he'd tell anyone, least of all you. Can you think of any reason why he should tell you?
Yes. To hurt me. To make me suffer.
Oh, my dear Kay, think. You mustn't let yourself build up these imaginary fears. Don't you see what it's doing to you? Don't you see that no sane person would act the way you've accused your husband of acting?
You don't believe me, do you, Steve? You think that I'm going out of my mind?
No, no, no. I just think your nerves are all shot. I think you need some rest.
I see. Bert was right. He's cleverer than I thought.
Can't you try to get some rest?
No. Get out of here. Get out of here. Leave me alone.
Kay.
Leave me alone. I'll have to do it myself then. But how? There's going to be target practice after dinner. I wouldn't have to do more than hit him in the hand or the arm. It would be enough to keep him from going out with Steve tomorrow. It would give me a little time, a chance to... Who is it?
Mr. Weber asked me to say that they were waiting for you on the terrace, ma'am.
I'll be right down, Dora.
You really mean to like the same thing I do, you know. I always have. All the time that I was in South Africa. I know. And it's a kind of an old-fashioned place. I thought some of you might like to have a shot to just to get your hand in. I had Fred string us up some lights. Ought not to be too bad.
Oh, I'd love to try it. I haven't fired a gun in months. Not since we left India, as a matter of fact.
Fred, turn the lights on, will you? We'll give the young lady a chance.
Well, I'm going right on with my coffee. When all you experts are through, I may start in.
You lead off, Bert.
Oh, no. He'll give us all a fearful inferiority complex.
Then you shall go first. I'll give you the prize. I think you'll like the feel of this. It's rather special.
Oh, it is beautifully balanced. Did you have it made for you?
For Kay.
What are the house rules? 2 shots? 3?
Let's say 3 the first round.
Good. Is it all right for me to start?
Go ahead.
Wait a minute.
Better luck. The way I do. Well, if it had been an elephant, I'd have hit it. Here, show us how it's done.
Shall I use the same target?
Why not? There's no mark near the center.
Well, here goes.
That's a beautiful shot.
I know that sound. That's my gun, isn't it?
Yes, and your husband has just put us all to shame, Mrs. Weber.
Bert always does. I changed my mind, though. I'm going to try a round. And I don't care how badly I do.
It's yours, my dear. And while you're reloading, I'll put up a fresh target.
Does have a wonderful feel, doesn't it?
How long is it since you've handled a gun, Kay?
Years, Jerry. I feel as awkward as a total beginner.
Put it down, Kay.
Why?
I'm merely asking you to put it down.
You've grown very cautious suddenly. Should I be careful crossing streets, too?
Brand new target up now, Kay.
All mine, Bert? Oh, heavens, I don't think I could hit a thing.
Mrs. Weber, take care.
Go ahead, Kay.
Let go, Captain. I can't do anything with you holding me like that.
Hey, watch out!
Hit.
Jerry, how badly is he hit?
What is it? What's happened?
He's dead, Kay.
Kay, darling.
Accidents will happen, won't they? Help me, Babs. Help me.
And now let's pause for a moment to look at our program again. Let's decorate the twins. Say, that's a great idea.
It's the only thing to do, of course, because these awards of merit presented by the American Society of Industrial Engineers belong right on the twins that won them. So here, to the Westinghouse Laundromat, the Merit Award for doing the best job of washing clothes of any washer made. And to the Westinghouse Clothes Dryer, the award for America's Outstanding Clothes Dryer. Isn't it wonderful? With the Westinghouse Laundromat here and the Westinghouse Clothes Dryer here, your entire laundry is done without a bit of work from you. All you do is turn a dial. So ask to see these famous Westinghouse Laundry twins, the only washer and dryer with the Merit Award. You'll see the award here and here. You'll be so glad you chose these twins, because remember, you can be sure if it's Westinghouse.
Return now to Westinghouse Studio 1 and the target.
You stay here, Tom. I'll go up and give this stuff to the chief. Hey, how much longer is this going to take?
It's up to the chief. Shouldn't be much longer now.
Thanks.
Would anyone like some more coffee?
No, thanks, ma'am.
I'd like one more, if I may.
We may be up for a long time, I'm afraid.
I suppose we shall. Thanks.
After 12 o'clock. They're up there for over 3 hours. What more can they find to ask her?
They're experts at asking questions. Almost as expert as psychiatrists.
I can't see why they should have to put her through anything like this. It was so obviously an accident.
Yes, and accidents do happen. Like a father shooting his own son. What would psychiatrists say to a coincidence like that, Jerry?
Jerry? Jerry, Eric's speaking to you.
Huh? Oh, sorry. What is it, Eric?
Nothing important.
Isn't that the paper the story was in?
Yes.
What are you doing, Jerry? Concealing evidence or working up a case history?
Nothing. Just absent-minded, I guess.
I keep thinking of Roger, Dad. Isn't that silly?
Roger? Who in the world is Roger?
Roger Llewellyn. He was Dad's half-brother.
Just drop it, Gwen, please. You know, I think I'll change my mind after all and have another cup of coffee.
Certainly, there's plenty.
No trouble, I'll get it myself.
Oh, there they are.
All these folks still looking for a holiday.
Is the questioning all over, Mr. Bard?
What kind of a report are you entering?
Seems to have been an accident, all right. Never liked that kind of thing.
May I go up and see Mrs. Weber now?
I see nothing against it, ma'am. I think she might like you with her for a while. There'll be a few things I may have to check with you folks in the morning. You weren't any of you planning to leave, were you?
Oh, no.
Well, that's fine, then. Well, say good night now. Sorry to have had to put you through this. We'll leave Riley here. The rest of the boys can come with us.
Yes, sir.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Captain.
I'm going up.
Now, Babs, I'd like to talk to her, too.
Well, I'll ask her, Steve. You wait out in the hall and I'll call you.
Who is it?
Babs.
Oh, come in, Babs. I was just going to bed.
Well, you need a good sleep, I expect.
Yes, I think I do. I should have come down, I know. But I just couldn't stand facing any more people tonight. Have the others gone to bed yet?
Well, they'll be starting in a minute.
Happened very quickly, didn't it? I remember Bert telling me when he gave me that gun. Muzzle velocity, 5,000 feet a second, 60 miles a minute, 3,600 miles an hour. Not time for a prayer to get from a man's tongue to his teeth. That was Bert's phrase.
Have you anything to take?
If I need it. That isn't what you came to say, was it?
No. Steve would like to talk to you a minute if you feel up to it.
Why?
He's still in love with you, I expect.
It's rather hard to stay in love with someone who isn't balanced mentally.
What does that mean, Kay?
Nothing. I'll see him if he wants to.
I'll tell him. Good night, darling. You'll call me if you need anything.
There won't be anything, but thanks, Babs. Come in.
Thanks. How are you, Kay?
Tired?
I wanted you to know how sorry I am.
For whom?
For you.
Why not for Bert? I'm still alive.
Why did you do it, Kay?
You don't believe it was an accident, do you? You think that I killed Bert deliberately.
I don't know.
That's confession enough.
Didn't you? Didn't you?
No! I wanted to hit him, yes. I wanted to injure him, but I didn't want to kill him. You needn't believe that, but it's true.
How could you have taken a chance like that, knowing nothing about handling a gun? The risk was too great.
It so happens that I'm a very good shot, Steve. I was always a better shot than Bert. I could have taken off Bert's little finger if I...
If what?
Nothing. I'm letting myself go. getting hysterical. Any day now I'd be needing professional help. That's what you prefer to believe, isn't it?
Okay.
Flawless, aren't they? No wound, no scar, no visible hurt. Those were Bert's last words to me. He had his hands on my shoulders, just like you.
Don't try to drive me away from you.
Isn't it best that I should?
No.
You don't trust me, Steve. It's as simple as that. I suppose I could use some very feminine wiles to make you say you believe me. But you'd wake in the morning and look at me, and I'd see that slight distrust in your eyes. I'd see it as I'm seeing it now.
Okay.
Don't, Steve. Don't say anything. Oh, Steve. Why couldn't you have trusted me?
Your hair's just as I remember it. What's changed?
Good night, Kate.
Good night, Steve. Goodbye.
I can't make you responsive, it seems, but I can see that no one else enjoys the pleasure.
Good morning.
Good morning, honey.
Hello, Steve.
What time are you planning to leave, Jerry?
I think we ought to get off by 10 or so. Babs feels she ought to stay a day or so with Kate.
Well, this is going to be much more of a shock for her than she realizes, I'm afraid.
Did any of you notice one thing last night? When Mrs. Weber took hold of that gun, she pretended to be a novice. And yet the way she held it, I don't know, it seemed to belong to her.
It did. It was made especially for her. Mr. Weber made that quite clear when he handed it to you last night, Gwyn.
Then why?
Oh, let's drop it. It was an accident, and that's that.
I don't know as you're the one to say that, Steve. Because unless I'm very wrong, Kay did whatever she did in order to save your life.
What?
Kay may have thought I was in danger, but she was exaggerating. Her nerves were
On
upset.
the contrary, she exaggerated nothing. I think she knew if she didn't kill Bert, he'd kill you or her or possibly both. It was a case of self-preservation.
Where did you ever get such a mad idea, Jerry?
From this. It's the newspaper with the item about the hunting accident. The interesting thing is, I found it last night still lying about. It's a Brattleboro daily. But it isn't dated yesterday or even the day before. It's dated 13 days ago.
So it's an old paper. Is that important, Jerry?
I think so. Why would anyone leave an old paper lying about? Why would anyone fold that paper so that an item on page 5 is exactly on top? Unless he wanted someone to see it. Unless he wanted some or all of us to see what it said.
But no rational person would believe that, Jerry. You saw that at once, didn't you, Steve?
Go on, Jerry.
Bert knew that if an accident did occur, we none of us would forget that it could happen even to a father and son. Bert planned to kill Steve, didn't he, Kate?
Yes.
Why, if you suspected that, why did you send me that telegram? Why did you plead with me to come?
I never sent you a telegram. I didn't want you here.
What's that?
Bert sent it. He simply signed my name. He wanted you here. Can you believe that now, Steve?
I haven't been very smart, have I?
Did you tell Steve what Bert planned to do?
Yes, you did. Only I didn't believe it.
Of course he counted on that. It would make Kay's suffering more acute.
There's only one thing you haven't told us, Mrs. Weber. You didn't mean to kill your husband, did you?
No,
Then what happened?
I don't know. It all happened so quickly. Someone grabbed my arm and... That was you, wasn't it, Captain George?
Yes.
Dad!
You said you thought you knew me, but you were wrong. But you did know someone very close to me. Roger Llewellyn.
Roger?
He was my half-brother. We were brought up together. Roger came out of jail last year, and a week later he shot himself.
Oh, no.
You were aiming at your husband's hand, weren't you? You'd have hit his hand, too. You wouldn't have missed. Of course, I might have bungled it. I might have made you miss him entirely. But I figured that some higher justice would see to that. And it did. For Roger's sake, I can't even pretend I'm sorry.
Don't think too cruelly about Bert. You remember that song and the story he told us that first night about the Dutch planter beating the slave? That wasn't true. That sound was the lash on his own body. His father was that kind of a man.
Before we look at next week's Westinghouse program, here is something well worth remembering.
This is air. Air on a rampage, uncontrolled, destructive. And this is air. Air harnessed and tamed to do man's bidding. But of all the jobs man has trained God's air to do, the biggest job is keeping the fires of industry burning to give us light, heat, and power. A big job for Westinghouse, too. For it takes precision-built fans tall as a house, motors of unusual stamina teamed together with Westinghouse sureness. Giant fans feed air into this inferno to produce the electrical energy we use daily. In loading and unloading dozens of products like grain and cement, air does the job. And you'll be surprised how industry depends on air conditioning. Air filtered, cleaned, and circulated, its temperature and humidity rigidly controlled. The clothes you wear, practically everything you buy or use today is better because it was made in clean, fresh, controlled air. Whether it's a giant fan like this for the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel or a fan to ventilate your kitchen, you can be sure if it's Westinghouse.
This is Paul Brenson saying goodnight for Westinghouse, makers of more than 40 million products for the American home. We hope you'll be with us again next week. Meanwhile, stop in at your Westinghouse dealers. See the famous Westinghouse laundry twins, the laundromat and the clothes dryer, the only washer and dryer to receive the Merit Award. And now, until next week, good night.